Hare Krishna, welcome back to our Bhakti Yoga Journey series. So today we will continue our discussions from the first canto of Bhagavatam. We'll be covering two very interesting chapters, chapters 14 and 15. Very interesting, very contrasting chapters, but which talk about two very important virtues that a devotee acquires in course of their devotional practice. One is their energetic awareness of the very subtle energies around them. The second one is perhaps even more important, is about being connected to that side of their emotional vulnerability. So these two aspects of emotional vulnerability and energetic awareness we are going to see in today's discussion. So the scene here is where we saw what happened last time. Narad Muni came and predicted that Lord Krishna is very soon going to depart from this world. So he kind of broke the news of the inevitable news. And so Yudhishthir Maharaj, he sends Arjuna to Dwaraka just to check on how Krishna is, how all the Yadus are, how the residents of Dwaraka are. And it's been quite some time, it's been many months since Arjuna left. No news at all from him. And Yudhishthir is getting a little restless about it. And then he starts having a conversation with Bhima, who happened to be there right next to him. He starts saying, "Oh, look, Bhima, I'm noticing a lot of inauspicious signs around me. Some bad omens. In fact, this signs of omens, these are the subtle energies that you will see around you, that very nicely this chapter of Bhagavatam is going to highlight, right? Something that perhaps you can practically use in your life, right? So he says that, oh, I see there is a sudden shift in the way the energies of time are functioning. Yudhishthir could sense that, that's one of the things that happens with, as your spiritual acumen develops, one becomes sensitive to the subtle energies around them. And then he says, I sense a lot of fear around and even within me. He says there's a lot of change in the seasons. And he says that how I see that people are slowly becoming very greedy, deceitful. There's a lot of anger. There is a mass pandemic of anger around. And he also says that I also see slowly I see a tendency of cheating to earn their livelihood. Now, as we are going through these omens, some of you may be thinking, yeah, this is the world, right? Guess what? This is not normal in Dwapar Yuga, right? We got so accustomed to this distorted energies around us, we may start presuming, yes, seasons change, yes, climate change happens, right? Yes, people cheat for their livelihood, right? What we think as normal was highly abnormal back then, right? And some of these will even make you laugh. He says that, oh, I see there is a misunderstanding between members of family, sometimes between father and mother and sons, between well-wishers, between brothers, right? And this should make you laugh. I notice even husbands and wives are quarreling with each other, right? So he said that was such an abnormal thing. Like even in the extreme situation, sometimes even brother, like you saw, Kauravas and Pandavas, they were cousins. They had conflict. Dwapar Yuga, that was there. But such intense conflicts between husband and wife was unheard of. So Yudhishthir was seeing all this changing consciousness of people around them. And then he saw, I see all this greed, anger, and pride is increasing. And he says, hey, I sent Arjuna to go and check on Krishna in Dwaraka. Like how Narad Muni predicted, did Lord Krishna actually leave this world? Right? And then he starts listing so many bad omens. First, he talks about certain symptoms within his own body. So he starts saying that how, oh, I see the left side of my body is twitching. So usually it is said that when for a man it's the left side and for a woman it's right side. So for a man's left side, Yudhishthir says, my thigh, arm and eye are twitching and quivering. So when that twitching is happening, it's a sign of some imbalance in our energies. And likewise for women, it is a right side, right? And then he says that my heart is palpitating. It's like I'm having some kind of a panic attack, right? And then he says, I see how jackals are wolves, jackals, they are very active during night time. But at the time of sunrise, as soon as that sattva guna of daytime comes, all these animals, they become docile, and all the sattvic animals like the cuckoos and all the cows, etc., they become more active. But here, Yudhishthir Maharaj he sees that I see as the sun is rising, all the jackals are howling, and it looked like the rising sun coming out from their mouth. It looked like they are spewing out fire, and dogs are barking fearlessly. Right now, today, like especially in India, for example, you'll see it's very common to see dogs barking everywhere, right? But again, that was something unheard of. And he sees cows are passing by to my left side. Again, usually auspicious animals, auspicious things, we always like to keep to our right side. Like that's why even when you circumambulate in a Vedic temple, you keep the temple to your right and you circumambulate. And he says, asses are coming and circumambulating me, and my horses are weeping. And pigeons, they are shrieking as if like they are messengers of death. Owls and crows, they are making such loud sounds. It makes my heart tremble with fear. And out of nowhere, I see the entire sky is covered with smoke. Imagine what would happen to Yudhishthir Maharaj if he comes to Delhi today, right? So, and the mountains are throbbing. It seems like the earth and mountains are shaking as if like there's some earthquake. And there is cloudless thunder. And this is actually a phenomena, even a scientific phenomena, where it is called, I think it's called the bolt from the blue. You can look up for that later. How the lightning phenomena is where when there is, the regular thunder and lightning happens because there's a lot of charge accumulated in the clouds and that gets discharged, right? But sometimes the reverse also happens. And that those kind of lightnings, they can go all over the place. They are not just those vertical streaks, but they can spread out. So that phenomena he saw, right? And there was violent wind blowing everywhere, and it looked like the rain was not clear. It almost looked like it was a blood rain that was taking place, right? And even the rays of the sun were not very bright. Even the stars, they seem to be misaligned. And he's seeing that how all the water bodies are diminishing. And he sees that when the priest is trying to start a fire of yajna, putting ghee, it's not starting. The ghee is no more igniting the fire. And he sees that the calves are no more going to their mothers. And the bulls are no more taking pleasure in strolling around in the agricultural fields. In fact, this is, once we had a dairy expert visit us, and he looked at our cows and he said, you are taking good care of your cows. Your cows are very happy. I said, why? On what basis did you say that? If a cow is peacefully sitting, and ruminating on its food, because they eat and then they bring it up and sit down and chew the cud. So if cows are doing that, and if bulls are moving around peacefully, it means, they are very, very happy. So, but the cows and bulls are not doing that. And it seems like when you go to a temple, the deities are looking so lifeless, almost like tears coming out of their eyes. And also, and it seems like they were about to leave. And all the natural beauty, if you remember in last chapter, we saw how there was such natural opulence in Yudhishthir Maharaj's kingdom. All these, the villages, towns and gardens, all this natural beauty was getting lost. So he could see so many such inauspicious signs, right? For us, it seems like daily life now, but, that was the impact. Something was happening and something he was sensing. He says, oh, then he understands. I think all this has happened because I think something has happened. Lord Krishna, I think he has left this planet. Because all the fortune that we experienced in our life is because of the Lord's presence. And this is such a powerful, aspect that Yudhishthir, if you see his life, he is the unrivaled emperor now. But he did not think that, because I was the king and I led the war and now I have established peace, right? But rather he understands it is only by the Lord's intervention that whatever sanity, whatever peace, whatever happiness exists in my kingdom, it is because of Lord's presence. Because Lord's footprints have blessed our kingdom, there is some prosperity, right? So this is such an important point. Many times we think our endeavor alone leads to results, but our endeavor attracts Lord's grace that leads to results. So when that grace element is missing, no matter how much we endeavor, we will not see the result. That's why, very famous statement, Prabhupada quotes in all the purports here, that even an expert physician may give you a medicine, but there is no guarantee that the medicine will work. That's why if you go to any traditional Ayurvedic doctor, Ayurvedic Vaidya, they will tell you, please chant your mantras before you take the medicine. I have done my bit of giving you the medicine, but I don't know if the medicine will work. It is only by the Lord's grace the healing will take place. So please chant your mantras before you take the medicine. And just as he was, getting overwhelmed by all these bad omens, these negative omens, Arjuna comes back from Dwaraka. And as soon as, he's a king, and also he was energetically very sensitive, he could notice a kind of dejection on Arjuna's face, which he has never seen before. And please understand, Yudhishthir and Arjuna together, the Pandavas, have seen extremely difficult times in their life. Right? It is not that they were always happy, and suddenly one bad thing happened in their life. Constantly, from their childhood till up until the recent years, there was calamity after calamity in their life. So they have seen a lot. But never did he see this kind of a rejection, almost like he gave up on life. Arjuna, that look in his face, he never saw. And he could see there were some tears gliding down Arjuna's eyes. And this was something that he never saw. The great mighty warrior Arjuna weeping, right? That was, unfathomable. And when he saw this Arjuna's pale face, then immediately Yudhishthir Maharaj, and look at the sensitivity that Yudhishthir Maharaj asks. Sometimes when we are overwhelmed with fear, you jump straight to the point and put the other person on the spot, right? But look at the sensitivity, because Yudhishthir knows that this news of Krishna's departure is just as difficult for me as it is for Arjuna. And I could see that he is also still trying to process this news, so I don't want to overwhelm him. So very expertly, Yudhishthir starts with some indirect questions. See, so many things we can learn from different aspects of Bhagavatam. The very refined art of cultured speech, right? Sensitive speech. Anudvegakaram vakyam. Your speech should not agitate other people's minds. So he says, so he starts by saying, asking in a positive note, are our friends and relatives happy? Are they all passing their days with happiness? What about our grandfather Surasena and our uncle Vasudeva and all his brothers? Are they all happy? He starts listing out all the members of Yadu dynasty. How is Pradyumna and Aniruddha? How are all the Shrutadeva, Uddhava, Nanda, Sunanda? These are all personalities who live in Dwarka. How is our dear Balaram? Right? And then he starts glorifying Krishna. Because sometimes, when a devotee goes through sadness, the only thing that can give solace to the heart is Harikatha. So he tries to have a short remembrance of Krishna by saying, oh, how is Krishna? Oh, the great Krishna who, Krishna had this assembly hall known as Sudharma. In fact, that assembly hall was part of the heavenly planets. Krishna brought it here on to Dwaraka, right? How is the great Bhagwan Govinda, and who is the great Bhakta Vatsala, who is a caretaker of his devotees, right? And who was enjoying this celestial assembly called as Sudharma, right? And then he asked, and how are the great Krishna and Balaram, who are staying in the Yadu dynasty for their protection and welfare, right? And then he says, and he talks about all the queens of Krishna. How is Rukmini? How is Satyabhama? And starts remembering that episode. Look, how, what a good husband Krishna is, because Satyabhama asked for this, Parijata tree. Krishna went to heavenly planets and brought that entire tree. How is that great Satyabhama, who made her husband as if he was like a henpecked husband, right? So that's how much she captured Krishna through her loving devotion, right? And so like that. And then after asking all this, he asks, oh, but still, maybe the Yadus are all right. Maybe you did something wrong. That's why I see a shift in your own energies. And this questionnaire also, which Yudhishthir is going to ask, is very, very powerful. So, sometimes we also end up doing some of these things and it disturbs our energies. First, he asks, is your health all right? Why do I see that your face lacks some luster? The tejas, that brightness. We don't need any cosmetics. If you just live a happy, healthy, eat clean food, drink clean water, good water, right? And sleep well. If you just do these three things, you don't need any cosmetics. So once, one devotee, he was passing around books on the street, and one mother and very young daughter, 3-4-year-old daughter, they were walking past him, and from a distance he saw that little girl wanted to ask something. So he thought, oh, maybe she is interested in the book. So he kept all his books ready, wanting to pitch the books. So somehow the mother pulled the daughter past this devotee. They went ahead, and somehow the daughter still said, she stopped and putting up tantrums and da. So finally the mother obliged and she walked back towards him. I said, yes, definitely now they are going to take some books. And then he asked, excuse me, sir, actually my daughter has a question. Can you please answer that? He says, yes, why not? So the daughter asked, what soap do you use? Your face is shining. Right? A little 4-year-old girl could see that. So this devotee was laughing and he said, it's not any soap. I chant this mantra. I chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is why I'm so happy and my face is shining. Right? So when we are in the right physical space and in spiritual space, naturally, the glow in the face, that joy, happiness, luster naturally comes. So he asked that question, that is your health all right? Right? Or very simple but very practical question he asked. Because he stayed for almost 7 months in Dwaraka, did you overstay in Dwaraka because of which people started disrespecting you? Sometimes when guests overstay, when your family, friends, mother-in-law, when they come to your house for 1 week, okay, it is fine. 2 weeks, okay, you kind of adjust yourself, you push yourself and stick to the hospital. After 3rd week, you slowly start giving some signs. Maybe one day you will not cook and say, oh, sorry, we ran out of food today. No, nothing to cook, right? And even 4th week, probably you will start giving some really more direct hints, right? So sometimes when a guest overstays, then they end up receiving a lot of disrespect from the hosts. So very simple, straightforward, practical question. So this is also a very important lesson, that as guests, we should never overstay or take undue advantage of somebody's hospitality, of the host's hospitality. So when you are disrespected that way, that also. So when we face any kind of disrespect, that shows up in our mood and in our face, right? So did you experience disrespect? Or he says, were you addressed by some unkind word? Did somebody threaten you? So that also shifts our energies, right? Or, very powerful point, he says, did you fail to give charity to someone whom you promised? So when you, especially charity is such a powerful and noble thing, especially for a king, for a warrior. And when you promise something, and if you don't fulfill that promise, it affects you. It lowers your energy. It mentally, physically, you become weak. So never make promises that you cannot keep. And if you make any promise, please fulfill it, right? And then, again, very specific to a warrior, could you not protect some deserving person who came to take your shelter, right? As a warrior, if a warrior does not perform his dharma, it also weakens their energies, right? Or, this is even more bewildering, have you contacted a woman of some impeachable character, right? Did you have a illicit relationship with some woman? Or opposite also, when a deserving woman came, did you not satisfy her? Both the extremes, right? And especially this is not applicable in Kali Yuga, but in the previous yugas, especially for a warrior, one, there was a kind of a license given for them for polygamy. And especially when a warrior or somebody of a very, very high noble stature, when a woman approaches such a man of a high stature, in alliance, as a marriage, so he has to marry her. That was the dharma. But at the same time, the person has to be careful that if that person is not of a good character, I should not take undue advantage of such a proposal. So both extremes, right? So he tries to check Arjuna on that. And then he says, or have you been defeated by someone in war, by somebody who's inferior to you? Because when a warrior gets defeated by somebody who's superior, they don't feel dejected, right? But when somebody who's inferior to you in fighting skills, if they defeat you, then the warrior feels dejected, right? Or, even more practical point, have you taken your food alone without feeding elders and children? What a powerful point, right? Today we are so inconsiderate about about certain aspects, right? I mean, you may see some starving people around you, but your life goes on. But here, the Vedic dharma was, especially for a householder, for a grihastha, the principle is that, if they see somebody hungry, whatever they can give, even if nothing, at least if they should offer some water. Not that you have to order a pizza immediately and serve them food or something, but at least give water. If you can, at least give them some good words, right? That's a basic courtesy of hospitality one has to show, right? And if somebody actually comes to you out of hunger, so in the Vedic system, you cannot try this today, at least not in India, but you cannot try. But the Vedic system was, before you eat a meal, you go outside on the street, and 3 times you are supposed to shout, is there anybody hungry? Is there anybody hungry? Is there anybody hungry? And if somebody responds, you should treat them like Atithi Devo Bhava. Means Atithi means the uninvited guest is as good as Deva, as good as God. And imagine if God were to enter your house, what hospitality you would show with that respect. Not that, oh no, you heard my call. Oh, you have come? Okay, now that you have come inside. Right? Not with that kind of a unintentional service. So one has to offer such food. And then he says, or have you committed some unpardonable mistake? Some really heinous crime have you committed? That's why when we commit some heinous crimes, and sometimes again, this is something which is now slow. It's like a gray zone today. But in the Vedic science, face reading was a very, very important aspect. In fact, in Vedic Jyotish Shastra and Vedic astrology, face reading and even the features of the face, right? Sometimes we are born with certain features, and those features are, the physical body takes the shape based on your subtle body. And what is your subtle body? Your mind, your impressions, your samskaras. Or in other words, your external body is a manifestation of your internal mind and your impressions. And so, this whole Jyotish Shastra face reading, just by looking at the face, you can know, and there are certain traits. Of course, today it may almost err into almost sounding very racist, but the science is there. For example, even when you look at somebody's face, right? So the portion from the third eye to the top of your head. So imagine this is zone 1, and from the third eye to the upper lip, imagine that as zone 2, and from the upper lip to your jaw is zone 3. So the top zone 1 is sattva, zone 2 is rajas, and zone 3 is tamas. And one of these face reading sciences says that if you are born with lot of sattvic mindset, then naturally you will have a long forehead. Therefore, in the Vedic understanding, long forehead is seen as sign of beauty, sattvic beauty, right? Whereas, having a bigger middle part is sign of rajas. And today, many popular celebrities, etc., they like to pump some chemicals in their face, in their lips, and make their lips big, because this is all the tamas part of the body. They don't know that they are actually increasing their tamogul, right? That is tamasic beauty. So like this, so there are certain aspects of, so these physical symptoms, facial symptoms, they actually indicate something about us, right? So of course, it is not that this is the only symptom, but this is one of those secondary tools you can use to understand, to know people, and to read people like that. So, but after asking all these questions, finally Yudhishthir Maharaj comes to the point, because he has done his sensitivity part, but still he wanted to pacify his own heart, right? So what does he do? He says that or are you feeling empty for all time because you might have lost your most intimate friend, Lord Krishna? Oh, my brother Arjuna, I can think of no other reason for your becoming so dejected, right? So like that. So now he asks, he comes straight to that point, right? And so after presenting this whole, the energetic relationship and the energetic science, now Yudhishthir Maharaj, he comes to the point, and now the second part of this discussion today, is chapter number 15, which highlights how a devotee, it's very natural for a devotee to be emotional. They are connected to that emotional, their vulnerable side, and they do not hesitate to express their emotions, because many times we carry this kind of a false notion that a spiritualist should be like stone, no emotions, right? No, in fact, a spiritualist is so in tune with their emotions, right, that they can very easily express them, right? And but at the same time, being emotional does not mean, being vulnerable and being emotional does not mean letting your emotions overwhelm you, right? So when you process and express your emotions, you don't allow your emotions to overwhelm you. So that very beautiful understanding, Arjuna is going to demonstrate that now. He's going to bring out his emotional vulnerability now. So after having asked all these questions by Yudhishthir Maharaj, Arjuna could no more check his pain. He starts crying. And now he says, he starts to remember Krishna, because Krishna was his dear friend. And sometimes, a friend plays role as a servant, assisting you, serving you. And sometimes friend plays the role of a parent. taking care of you, looking after you, nourishing you, right? So he was remembering, there was like a whole explosion of rasas happening inside Arjuna's mind. He was remembering all those, getting all those fond memories, how Krishna took care of me, and how sometimes Krishna served me, and how he advised me, and we were joking with each other, cracking fun with each other. We had our jolly times on the chariot many times. He was remembering all those. And he this is what he says, very, very powerful verse. He says, Vanchitoham Maharaja. I have been Vanchita means I have been deprived. I have been deprived of his association, O king. Harina Bandhu Rupina, right? My intimate Bandhu means very, very intimate associate, right? I have been deprived of my intimate friend has left me. And now, after this, he says that powers which astonished even the great Devatas. Sometimes Devatas, when they had trouble, they would call Arjuna to come and fight for them. That powers which impressed even Devatas, now I lost those powers too. Now, at this point, when somebody hears this, one may be thinking, what is Arjuna worrying about? Is he worrying about Krishna's loss or the loss of his powers? Right? So, two important lessons here. One, as we discussed briefly earlier, that how our abilities, they come because of Krishna's blessings, because of Krishna's presence in our life. Right? Lord empowers us to engage in certain activities. And this is something, even very practically I can share about this, that how, in the when you volunteer to engage in some service for the Lord, even though it is beyond your skill set, Krishna empowers you with a particular skill set. And, and as a reward, he says, okay, Nimai, keep this skill set with you. It's like a little medal of honor I'm giving you for engaging, for volunteering for my service. Right? There's so many things personally in my life I have learned, living in GEV and taking up to different services here, which I would have never done had I lived any other place, had I not been in this kind of an active service. Right? Many things from making bricks to, building drainage mechanisms to many of those things. Even when sometimes when students and academic university students, when they come to GEV, and when I'm addressing them, they're all confused. What are you? Are you an electrical engineer? Are you a civil engineer? Are you a plumbing engineer? What are you? You seem to know everything, because when you're serving, there's nothing like hands-on experience, and Krishna awards you that intelligence to know things in detail so that you can use it in his service. But just like the ease with which Krishna awards you a particular skill, with the same ease, Krishna can also withdraw that skill. So, there is nothing for a devotee to be proud of. If Krishna wants to engage you in his service, he will empower you like nothing else. And when Krishna decides to disengage you from a service, he will withdraw that power too. And that time you will feel so helpless if you've been operating from the space of your ego. Right? You will be wondering, but Prabhu, if you are operating from space of ego, why did Krishna empower you? Right? Because we are not there. We are not fully egoistic, and neither are we fully pure devotees. We are somewhere in between. Right? So there is little bit of bhakti, and there is also a lot of ego. Right? So we are somewhere in that mixed zone. So, and that when we are operating that mixed zone, it's very easy to get carried away by that skills that we are blessed with and think, oh, this is my ability. And suddenly when Krishna withdraws, that's the time when Krishna tests you. Because that's the time, if you develop some humility, that loss will not feel like a loss. But if you have not worked on your inner humility, you will feel lost. You will feel shattered and broken. Right? When Krishna withdraws that ability. And you'll be thinking, hey, I was that. I was once doing all that. Now I can't even move my finger. Right? And if anything I'm speaking is sounding theoretical, this is one thing that will happen to all of us. A point will come in our life where we will become old. We will not be able to jump around, run around, and do the things that we are able to do now. We will not be able to digest all the kinds of foods that we are able to eat now. We will not have the memory that we have right now. We will not have the ability to speak, right? We will be practically like a, of course, with all due respect to old age, but we are practically like a living vegetable, right? But if in the course of life, if you have not developed your sense of self-worth from your core being, that here I am at my very eternal, my internal source as the soul who is a servant of Krishna, if you are not invested your self-worth there, and rather invested your self-worth in your skills, your abilities, your resources, your connections, etc., the moment they are withdrawn, you will be broken due to lack of self-worth. So this is a whole journey, right? Yes, in the beginning, yeah, you may have a carry an identity and self-worth that, oh, I'm a very good teacher, I'm a very good artist, I'm a very good singer, I'm a very good student, I'm a very good manager, blah, blah, blah. It's okay in the beginning. But in the course of life, because that's what our sadhana is. Sadhana is that time of the day when you are shedding all those masks, all those veils that we are wearing for our day-to-day operations, and just wearing your true identity. I am just a soul who's trying to connect to Krishna, who's trying to love Krishna. So if that sadhana time is not properly invested, then suddenly, if you're only investing your time with the veils, the moment those veils are snatched, you will have loss of identity, right? So this typically happens, especially post retirement. If you spend so many years in your profession and suddenly one day you wake up in the morning and, who am I? Why am I in this state of suffering? What is the goal of life? All the fundamental philosophical existential questions of life, they will come up. So uh, so while we understand that these things are temporary and circumstantial, we still put in our 100% energy, but without getting too absorbed and overwhelmed by them. That's the idea of having a strong sadhana in your life. It grounds you to reality, that even one day I'm none of these things which I'm doing right now. I'm not a teacher, I'm not a singer, I'm not any of these things, right? When I'm on my couch, unable to do anything in my old age, all I can do is just remember Krishna. That's the sadhana I have worked on all my life. If I have invested time remembering Krishna during my sadhana all my life, I'll be able to do that in my final moments, right? Because at the end of our life, our body, mind, intelligence, none of them are going to support us. That pure consciousness that we tried cultivating, that's the only thing that will accompany us. So this endowment of strength and withdrawal of strength, it's all happening by the Lord's grace. So Arjuna understands that, right? And he is amazed. So while he makes that statement, you will see the remainder of Arjuna's statements, you will realize what exactly is Arjuna missing. He is not missing his powers, but rather he is missing Krishna. And now he is reminiscing all those beautiful episodes that he spent with Krishna. Oh, remember in the Draupadi Swayamvara, I was able to, so many lusty kings were there trying to win Draupadi's hand, but it is only by Krishna's grace that I was able to hit the right, there was a competition, archery competition, I was able to do that, and that is how I was able to win. It happened. And when in that Khandava incident, I was able to fight with Indra and defeat him because Krishna was there with me. Even your own mighty Bhima, your brother who's standing next to you, he was able to defeat Jarasandha because Krishna gave him the idea how to kill Jarasandha. Bhima was not able to do it on his own because Jarasandha had some mystic powers. So Krishna showed him the trick how to defeat him, right? And likewise, if it were not for Krishna, we couldn't have avenged the insult that was handed out to our, to Draupadi. And even the forest, when Durvasa had come, so you go through these purports of Srila Prabhupada, all these stories. I'm just giving you in one line, but the Prabhupada gives tiny snippets explaining all these episodes. Very, very beautiful stories from Mahabharata, right? So many such episodes, how I was able to defeat Lord Shiva and get the Pashupatastra and so many celestial weapons, how I defeated the Nivata Kavacha demons in the higher planetary systems, how during that our time in the tiny province of Virata, when the entire Kaurava army attacked us, including Bhima, Drona, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, when all of them attacked together, I was able to single-handedly defeat the entire Kaurava army, right? And what to speak during the war of Kurukshetra, I was the main hero because of my friend Krishna, who was playing the role of a charioteer and supporting me, right? And then he goes to a more personal remembrance, right? So this is a very, very important aspect. This is perhaps what is the hallmark of being a devotee. A devotee means one who is grateful to the Lord, period. That's it. If you really want to know your devotional index, you can know by the number of times you are grateful to the Lord. And gratitude is not a very abstract thing. Right? It's not that you stand before the Lord and says, "Oh Lord, thank you." Why? Because I exist. I'm still alive. Thank you. Nah, the nature of gratitude is it has to be very, very specific. You can't just say, okay, like even think about it right now. If you want to express a prayer, prayer is nothing but an expression of the inner gratitude. So if you want to express your gratitude, you can't just say, "Oh Krishna, thank you." That's such a impersonal prayer. You're not putting your heart in it. There's no love in that prayer. But you have to go into specifics, right? "Oh Krishna, I remember that time when I was crossing the road and suddenly this car came out of nowhere. And somehow my sixth sense told me that I need to stop and I can't put that next step. And when I did that, that car just zoomed past me. Had I not stopped, I would have been, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have even survived. Oh, thank you, Krishna. As Paramatma, you came and saved me that day." Right? So when you're writing and expressing your gratitude and offering that prayer, it has to be very, very specific. Right? And then also very, very personal. And if you see, personal in a sense, both connected to you and also to the people around you. So Krishna, he was expressing his gratitude to how Krishna helped Bhima, how Krishna helped Draupadi, how Krishna helped Yudhishthir. Sometimes in your own life, you may not have anything to be grateful for, then be grateful for somebody else's intervention. Krishna's intervention in somebody else's life. "Oh Krishna, how amazing you are. You intervened in Prabhupada's life and saved him so many times. When he was crossing the Jaladuta, you saved him from the heart attack." Even that, it's not, don't expect miracles in your life. You can express gratitude to Krishna for the miracles that he has orchestrated in somebody else's life. You can express gratitude for Krishna's miracle in Arjuna's life. Today, all the miracles, right? Even that, you see, you try this very, very, being very specific in your gratitude prayers, and you will see, you will feel more connected. You will see your heart open up even more. It's no more that boring prayer. And now, if you want to really make it more powerful, before you start your daily japa, sit down for a moment. If required, take a pen and paper and write down why you are grateful to Krishna in a very, very specific way. And carry that feeling and read out that prayer and, invoke that feeling within you. And with that feeling, pick up your bead bag, pick up your japas, beads, and start chanting the mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And then you will see in your japa, you will feel so much more connected to Krishna. Right? In fact, the reason why japa becomes so boring is because we are not investing our heart into the process. We are only investing our body and tongue in the process, not even our ears, just body and tongue. So this Arjuna became so specific in his prayers, and now he starts to lament that, oh, Krishna tolerated so many of my offenses. I wish I had not done that. Another aspect of prayers is sometimes by the owing to the humble nature a devotee has, they think that they have done some faults. Krishna never took it as offenses, but a devotee thinks perhaps I did some mistake. So Arjuna was thinking, oh, Krishna was so kind, he tolerated all my offenses. And now he says, the greatest offense I committed now, recently, is I went to protect some of Krishna's wives and I wanted to bring them from Dwaraka to Hastinapur and so that we can take care of them because Krishna already left the planet. But I was defeated by some simple cowherd men and they kidnapped all of Krishna's queens. Now, at this point, some of you may be wondering, what? God's own wives were kidnapped and God's devotee could do nothing? What is happening here? Right? So, whenever such extraordinary things happen, our acharyas, they dive in to give some deeper insights. So, one acharya named Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he explains from some Puranas, he quotes a Puranic story to say that actually not all wives of Krishna, but few wives who in their previous lives, they were citizens of heaven. And they prayed, these girls from the heaven, they prayed that may we get Lord as our husband. Right? But then, while serving a particular soul, an advanced soul named Ashtavakra Muni, because his body was bent, he was a little crooked. He had 8 bends in his body. 8 places his body was bent. And as he was walking, he looked funny. So these girls, they laughed at him. So they curse him that, oh, you will be separated from your husband because I curse you this way. And then they have begged for, okay, don't worry, the Lord will again protect you back. So this whole pastime was orchestrated, one, to fulfill that blessing that Ashtavakra Muni gave, and 2, to humble Arjuna. You think you have your Gandiva bow and you think you can defeat so many warriors in the battlefield? In my absence, let me see what you can do. He could not fight with simple cowherd people. What weapons do cowherd people have? Sticks. Not celestial sticks, ordinary bamboo sticks. And still, Arjuna got defeated. He had all his celestial weapons, astras, shastras, but nothing. How? This is logic defying, but this is what happens when the Lord withdraws his empowerment, right? And so he explains that how the Yadu dynasty, there was this fratricidal war and they killed each other, and that's how the entire Yadu dynasty got wiped out. But then Arjuna, while he was expressing all these sad events that happened, usually when we are discussing something very sad, we tend to get overwhelmed with it. But look at Arjuna's consciousness. After describing all this, he did not get overwhelmed, but he reconciled by saying, ultimately, nothing can happen without the will of the Lord. I can feel this is the Lord's will. And now, and to kind of pacify everyone, he says sometimes, when a thorn gets stuck in your, say, foot, you have to take another thorn to pull it out. So, to destroy the demons, Krishna brought in the devatas from the heaven and said, you all take birth in my family and become the part of the Yadu clan. But now my pastime is over, so you also need to go back. Otherwise, what will happen if you guys stay after I go away? You will now start claiming my legacy. We belong to the family of God. Therefore, respect me like God. Right? So it's possible, and it happens, and it has happened actually. If you look at history of, so this, because Krishna didn't want to create more adharma, the tools that he used for the surgery, after the surgeon is done, what does the surgeon do after surgery is over? What does the surgeon do with those tools? Just throws them in the dustbin for cleaning, right? That's it. So Krishna picked up the entire Yadu dynasty and disposed them off. So this is nothing to be bewildered, right? And so Arjuna is now remembering all those instructions of Bhagavad Gita, and he says, this is giving me solace now. In that, during that moment of darkness on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna gave me light in the form of Bhagavad Gita. Now again, in that same situation of darkness, I am feeling solace from remembering the Lord's teachings, right? So this is that emotional maturity that Arjuna shows, right? He does not shy away from expressing his emotions, but at the same time, he knows how to ground himself and regain his composure. So many times we think that to remain equipoised, we should be emotionally unexpressive. No, you can still express your emotions and still remain grounded, right? So that's the that's what is the hallmark of a grounded devotee, right? So when Arjuna, he gives all this, then hearing this instruction, then Yudhishthir Maharaj decides, okay, now what's the point? I think we should also retire. Can you imagine Yudhishthir's consciousness here? Their entire life they struggled, and now the end, so they lived happily ever after phase just started. No enemies, political peace, financial peace, family peace, right? They're about to have a grandson, right? Though they lost their children, but their grandson was saved, and grandson, he will be born now. In the next chapter, we are going to see Parikshit's birth and how he grew up. Right? But the grandson was there; he was already born, actually. Yes. So that way he could think, oh, now I can just retire, play with my grandchildren, etc., etc. At the time when peace began, so-called peace began, Yudhishthir said, okay, we should also retire now. And Yudhishthir, so this also shows the quality of a devotee, that for them, when the Lord is present, if the Lord is present even in hell, I am willing to stay in hell. But if the Lord is not present in heaven, I reject heaven. So that is the mood of a devotee. And so with that consciousness, Yudhishthir Maharaj, he goes into an involution. He absorbs the senses into the prana into the mind into intelligence, right? And then he completely becomes detached and puts on the robes of a simple mendicant, and he goes into the forest, right? So like that. So, and seeing that Kali Yuga is now about to enter, because as soon as Krishna leaves, end of Dwapar Yuga, as soon as the Lord leaves, adharma is going to rise, Kali's effect is going to rise. Therefore, the Pandavas decided now it is time to pass on the baton to the next generation. So he installs Parikshit as a king of Hastinapur and Vajranabh as the king of Mathura, the region of the south of Hastinapur, right? And Vrindavan, Mathura, all that area, Vajranabh, the grandson of Krishna, he was enthroned. And then the Pandavas, they all leave into the forest, like that. So this is how they eventually go towards the side of the Himalayas, and that's how they eventually entered into the spiritual world. So this is how, and this chapter ends saying, anybody who hears the subject matter of the departure of the Pandavas, their life will become auspicious and pure, and one will develop devotion to the Lord. Why like that? Because the Pandavas, not only have they shown purpose in while they are living, but they also showed a purpose while they are dying, right? They have taught a lesson throughout their life, and now through their death also they are teaching a very valuable devotional lesson. right? So that is why when we understand this, we are it instills within us that proper devotional understanding. All right. So yeah. So this is how this particular chapter ends, and in the next chapter, very fascinating chapter, where Parikshit and Kali are going to have a very strong confrontation. Very interesting chapter, right? So let's open the forum for any quick questions or comments if anybody has any. Very long chapter today. Yeah, you should be able to unmute yourself if anybody has. Yeah, Apurva, go ahead. Can you?
Krishna,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Yes, please.
Yes, Rama. You mentioned that if we are given a particular service and if Krishna empowers us with a particular skill set, so parallelly we should also work on the humility part first. So that humility part is, I just wanted to confirm, that is the sadhana that you were talking about, right? Like, how do we work on humility is sadhana aspect.
Of course, so sadhana, definitely one thing, but humility is a state of being, right? So even while you're working, so when your sadhana is strong, it will remind you to remain humble during your service. It's like that. So sadhana and humility both go together, and it's a state of consciousness you will carry with you throughout the day. Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Sheetal
Krishna.
here.
Yes, Sheetalji, please.
Yes, Prabhuji, I've realized in the process that um, there are there are times in the process of bhakti that the anarthas keep rising.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you deal with one demon, the other demon rises. So how do we tackle that? I am there now. So
See, the idea is in the bhakti literature is described that there is just like how we have different stages in a journey. There is, as soon as we begin our sadhana, our bhajan, right? Then the first thing that will happen is, what is sadhana? It is cleansing of the heart. When you clean your house, that's when you will see all the hidden dust, right? So just because you see the dust, you should not blame the broom. Oh, every time I pick up the broom, I see the dust. I think I should stop brooming the house. That's not the right approach. Rather, understand that, hey, I just need to persist. So you will see. So this is where you need to celebrate those little, gains that you get. Right? You, over the last 1 year, you would have seen some change in you, some positive betterment in you. Say, oh, in 1 year, if I can achieve this, in 10 lifetimes, how much more will I achieve? Not that you have to wait for 10 lifetimes, but or in 10 years, how much more I can achieve. So you need to celebrate those little glories and let that give you the hope and motivation to keep going on. But definitely, this fighting of anarthas, these inner demons, is a very important part of our sadhana, and that's what will steady us eventually, overcoming these. All right.
thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Guruji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Medina.
Medina here.
Yes.
A little bit jumping into the future, but correct my spiritual ignorance if I'm wrong. In the Kali Yuga, according to the scriptures, there is also another avatar of the Lord that is supposed to appear, right? And can you elaborate on that? What is the aim of that appearance? Like, he has appeared in the Dwapar Yuga, right? Is this correct? Am I pronouncing it correct? Yeah. So he has appeared to solve this injustice. So during the Kali Yuga, since it's being the last one, what is according to the scriptures the devotees should do, and like what can we sort of expect from from that appearance?
Okay. So if you remember our chapter 2 discussion, we spoke about the different aspects of the concept of avatars. We discussed that.
Yeah.
So in that, if you remember, we discussed how there is yuga avatars, right? And there are also certain scheduled incarnations. So for Kali Yuga, interestingly, we have two avatars. One is known as the hidden avatara, or the Channa. Channa means hidden avatara. Who Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who gave the method of the Nam Sankirtan, of chanting of the congregational chanting of the holy names, and accessing the mood of bhakti along like the residents of Vrindavan. So that Braja Bhakti and the Nam Sankirtan, that's the main teaching that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. And it is said that that influence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will last for 10,000 years. So only 500 out of 10,000 are over. However, there's also another avatar scheduled who's known as Kalki, right? Who apparently will be born somewhere near modern day Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, somewhere in that Magad region. And his agenda is very, very simple. In fact, once Prabhupada was asked that what about this Kalki? So Prabhupada, he imitated shooting of a gun. Saying that's the only thing Kalki does. He is on a rampage, destroying the miscreants. So Prabhupada said, don't wait till Kalki comes. We don't want Kalki's mercy. Better we utilize the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is even more potent, which is able to give you the highest essence, right? So yeah, so Kalki comes with that. That's why if you see the iconography of Kalki also, he is represented on a horse and with a weapon in his hand, with a sword in his hand. So he's in that mood of, where he is just like that, like a warrior destroying evil. He's in that mood of destroying evil. So we don't want to wait till that much time. Okay.
But that too is mercy. I mean,
well, it's just like in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, everybody who died, they got liberation. But just because death in the hands of the Lord is liberation, that's not the highest aspiration. Right? So that way we don't want that kind of mercy.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Surya Radhika, please unmute yourself.
Hi Krishna, thanks for the class. And I'm listening to the recordings because sometimes my schedule and the services I have here, I'm not able to come online. So I had few questions from previous chapters. I'm also reading the chapters. So in the Queen Kunti's prayers, we see that she's addressing the Lord as the Lord. And I'm confused a bit because what I remember is that everyone associating Krishna and his family members and relatives, they always thought he's just family member, so I don't understand if she knew it from the beginning, and if not, and when she's saying the prayers, is everyone hearing it? How is it, and how should I understand this? And my second question is regarding Bhishma also. Bhishma was also addressing Krishna as in the verse 30 in chapter 9 was addressing as, it says that Krishna is four-handed. Then I'm more confused.
Yes.
Because others are there, like Arjuna and the Pandavas are there. So are they seeing him as four-handed also? And if they are, then how would it affect their relationship with Krishna and all that? So I'm a bit confused about these.
So one thing, Kunti Devi and Bhishma, both of them knew of Krishna's divinity all along. Right? Of course, sometimes the Lord, for certain practical dealings, the Lord Yogamaya covers them of that understanding, and you may have seen some regular dealings in Mahabharata. But otherwise, Kunti always looked up to Krishna, not just as my nephew, but deep down she knew. And this is a very important point. So there is the knowledge of greatness of the Lord, and a feeling of sweetness that comes due to a personal relationship with the Lord, right? Now, sometimes the sweetness, when it is present, the greatness does not disappear. It is just overshadowed. Meaning that, sometimes, like if the the grandson of the president of a country knows that their grandpa is the president, but when he's approaching his grandpa, he doesn't think I need to follow some protocol here. I need to take his appointment first. He'll just run into his grandpa's office, right? So which means it is not that he lacks the knowledge of his greatness. It is just that the personal relationship and the sweetness covers that understanding, right? So likewise, even for the residents of Vrindavan, it is not that they are unaware of Krishna's greatness. It is just that that sweetness covers it. That's why even if you read Gopi Geet, gopis who are in the highest relationship with Krishna, even they in that Gopi Geet prayers, you will hear some prayers of reverence, sometimes addressing Krishna as the Almighty. So it is not that they lack that understanding, it is just that the personal connection overwhelms them. However, in that specific situation, Kunti is playing that role of a devotee. And that's why you will see, if you see the flow of thought of those prayers, she says that, actually I'm praying for the Pandavas. I'm asking you to stay back to benefit the Pandavas. Why am I thinking about Pandavas so much? Because they happen to be my children. I am attached to the Vrishnis and the Pandavas. So let me connect to you not through the identity of this worldly relationship, but let me connect you with the identity of a soul. So that's one of the prayers, cut my relationship with the Vrishnis and the Pandavas, Yadus, she says. So that's and so yes, so it's this very fine balance that you see. They are aware of Krishna as God, but at the same time, their intimacy and the personal relationship covers them. Specifically with respect to Bhishma, he has a connection with Krishna as not as Krishna, the cowherd boy, Krishna who likes to steal butter, or Krishna who likes to play flute, but Krishna, the warrior, who is a chariot driver of, because they share that Viryaras, chivalry. That's why if you see Bhishma's prayers, while Kunti Maharani has a motherly love and, as with that motherly rasa that she has, she's remembering, the Damodar Lila, how Yashoda and all the mascara, she's remembering that. Whereas Bhishma is remembering, how the blood was oozing out of your body. Wow, what a sight it was. Right? So that chivalry rasa was there. For him, it was more in that awe and reverence. He was in that Vaikuntha mood. Therefore, he liked to see Lord in his chivalrous might. Therefore, that 400 form he invokes there. Right?
So, were others able to see?
So it is not that others could see that.
Okay.
Sometimes Krishna would bring out his forearms, right? Like in that episode of Ashwadhama, with two hands he holds Bhima, with two hands he holds Draupadi, trying to pacify the situation. But ordinary time, it's not that. But he came, in fact, specifically he came to Bhishma's deathbed just to bless him and reveal to him the form that he likes to see, to give him that very personal reciprocation, like that.
Thank
you. All right.
What about Mother Yashoda? Mother Yashoda would always see Krishna as a child, no?
Yes, of course.
And would never know that he's God.
Well, even if she would knew that, in fact, for example, in that pastime where Krishna eats dirt and she sees the universe in his mouth, for a moment she thinks, what Bhrigu predicted, I think my child is Narayan. And then immediately Krishna closes his mouth and smiles. And suddenly she gets overwhelmed with the sweetness and says, but if I don't feed him, who will take care of him? So even though sometimes they may have that thought, that sweetness overwhelms that greatness, and that greatness fades away in the backdrop. Like that.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Great.
Hare Krishna. All right. So,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Rohiniji, yes. Last question.
Yes, last question, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, in multiple times, like in your classes, you speak about celebration and joy. But at many places, we are also reading that you have to be hopeless and helpless. So I'm not able to I mean, studying spirituality is not making me feel empowered. So I just wanted to know, like,
No, you need to celebrate your hopelessness.
okay.
Then you are on track. How fortunate I am. Krishna put me in this hopeless situation. Otherwise, I would not be thinking about him. Right? So celebrate your hopelessness. That is an answer specifically for you.
Yes, Prabhuji. Because even in many purport Prabhupada just written, we have to pray helplessly. Like,
The
so I
thing
just,
again, like on a serious note, the mood to pray will not come when you lack hope. Right? So if you don't have that faith and hope that Krishna is going to protect me, why would you pray? Right? So you need that positive mindset to acknowledge the negativity going on in your life. Right? So you are not falsely in a toxic way denying the negativity and saying, oh, everything is positive. Or at the same time, not becoming so dejected that, oh, my life is miserable all the time. Right? So that is why, only a person who has faith and hope goes through misery and has the ability to process misery. Think about it, this is a food for thought for your next 1 week, right? Only when there is faith, there is doubts, misery, anxiety. Because you value something. That is why when something, when your spiritual life is threatened, when some really some serious anxiety, some serious calamity comes, and then you start questioning the very basics of spirituality, and then you think, oh, am I a good devotee? I'm having so many doubts. Right? That very thought is a sign that you have faith. Right? So the very fact that you are concerned about a doubt means you value that subject. So doubts actually are a sign of faith. If you don't care about your spirituality, then who cares? Doubts or no doubts, I don't care about it. Like, are you worried about the economical situation of the economical impact of Trump's tariff policies all over the world? Perhaps it's not directly connected to your profession, so you don't even care about it. So whatever is happening, okay, you just news, general info, current affair, that's the only interest you may have in that, right? Or maybe not even that. So, but something that you care about, when something happens, some calamity comes there, then it starts worrying you. So all those worries, calamities, anxieties are a sign of your seriousness and your faith. So look at it that way. So in that positivity, in that inner state of positivity, that's when you need to acknowledge and process that negativity and deal with it. All right. So let's end the discussion.
Prabhuji, Hare
Thank you all
Krishna.
so much once again. Hare Krishna.